What is the verdict on cursive? This is Christian Duke. You're watching the Everything Else channel on YouTube. EverythingElseChannel.com coming soon. If at any point during this video you like it, smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. And leave a comment down below. What happened to cursive? Do you know that most kids nowadays do not learn cursive in school? They don't teach it. And if you don't learn it, who's going to teach it to them? I mean, I know grown people that can't make the cursive lowercase z. I can do it, but it's not perfect. I got to practice it. A lot of people can't do the cursive capital O or lowercase o. They just can't. You know what I mean? They don't know how to sign their own name. Do you know how sad that is? They have to print their name where it says signature because they don't know how to sign. And if they don't know how to sign in grade school, they're not going to learn in junior high, and they're not going to learn in secondary. They're probably never going to learn. So we're going to have a whole generation after generation of people printing instead of signing. So people might say, well, you know, cursive's overrated. Is it? Because that's what the Constitution's written, and it's not written in print. You know what I mean? Cursive has always been the more formal of the two. Simple writing is for children, you know what I mean? But people that are adults or that are signing a deed to a home or a title to a car, they would sign in cursive. They would sign their name, not print their name. And so, I mean, it may not be a big deal. I mean, maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just 44 years old and a history major and a history buff, and maybe I just think it's important. And maybe it's also a question of ever more digital world. I mean, then there's a whole argument, you know, are we ever going to have books anymore? This is Jimmy Carter. I love Jimmy Carter. Republicans love him too. Sweetest man. He's got cancer. He's 90 years old. And then over here, I got another gentleman here. Very important to our history. Extremely important to our history. So I just like stuff like that, you know? And then that's written in print, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying print is bad. Print is what, I would say 80% of what we do is in print. But I still think cursive is important, you know, to sign your name, to sign an important document, you know, and maybe even to write a letter. You get a letter in cursive, in good cursive, that to me is very fancy. I mean, that's very fancy. It's very old school. Think about it. I mean, you know, I don't know, to me, getting a letter that was printed, hand printed, to me, I would feel like a fifth grader wrote it to me. You know, like my nephew or something wrote it to me. I don't feel like adults write in print. If they write at all, maybe they don't write anymore. You know, maybe that's the whole gist of everything we're talking about here. Maybe schools are like, look, you know, it's 2020, 2015, 2020. They haven't been teaching cursive in a long time. So I'm probably thinking, look, it's 2010, 2015, 2020, 2023. You know, we're getting more and more digital. You know, every kid in this classroom has a Chromebook. You know, maybe we don't need to do cursive. And now you can e-sign on the internet or your phone, and it does the cursive for you. But that's kind of like the argument of a calculator. I mean, what do I need to add for a calculator to do a form? I mean, you gotta know your times tables. You gotta know something, right? But maybe they see it that way. You know, maybe they feel that cursive is not that important. And to me, I just think that it creates more of a setback because, you know, I'm looking at the Japanese. They go to school 6 days a week and nothing has changed with the digital era. Nothing. I mean, if anything, they're learning more, but they're not learning less. And I feel like we are learning less. Our kids are learning less. And I don't like it. I'll be honest with you. I don't like it. And maybe I'm just thinking too far into it. And some people will answer with, well, you know, if it's that important to you as a parent, you can teach your kids at home. And I say no. I say no because here's the deal. School is not free in America. I wish people would stop saying that. And it's not coming from the right or the left. It's not a partisan issue. It's just a stupid issue. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go out and say it. This is the Everything Else channel. So I'm just going to talk freely. That's the whole point. And I certainly hope that you will leave a comment down below. A couple of videos ago, I made a video about Bernie Sanders. It was a joke video. And one of my viewers that I like a lot and leaves a lot of great comments, and I hope to God is still subscribed, said she didn't appreciate the fact that I was picking on Republicans. And I told her, I said, look, I just want you to know, this is a public comment. I just want you to know these videos are satirical. I always mess up that word. They're parodies. In fact, if you look at the hashtags, it says parody, humor, LOL. It's intended to be a joke. And today, as a matter of fact, and I will put a end tag on this video. They found cocaine in the White House, a cocaine-like substance. Now, you know, if they say a cocaine-like substance, it's cocaine, right? And the Secret Service took it to a lab for testing. Now, I made a video about the double standard. Now, first of all, we know that the cocaine does not belong to Sleepy Joe because it's hard enough to keep him awake. He's not taking cocaine. But I just said that. I don't want to burp like I did on my Liz Cheney video. I got a lot of flack about that, by the way. But hey, that also was kind of a joke. But again, there's a lot of humor in the Everyday Channel here on YouTube. But where I'm going at with that, okay, is the fact that it is a double standard. And this isn't a joke. Like, I'll make politically objective videos, but I'll also make political humor videos. But it is a double standard because you know that if they would have found cocaine in the Trump White House, we'd have heard it everywhere. Front page of the newspaper, all over the radio, all over TV, all over internet radio, and all the websites. And this was a 31-second clip on a major news network, a mainstream media network. 31 seconds. Now, you figure you got 1 to 2, maybe 3 seconds for the intro, 1 to 2, maybe 3 seconds for the outro, for the, you know. So really, the news about a cocaine-like substance in the Biden White House got all of about 26 seconds worth of coverage by the mainstream media. But if it had been the Trump White House, it would have gotten hours and hours and days and maybe even weeks of it. And they might have tried to even impeach him for it, even if it wasn't his. So I just want you guys to know that I will be, you know, this is not a political channel. You want to know my politics? I'm a lefty. I'm a liberal. I was a Bernie delegate. But does that mean, though, that I'm a Democrat, like, you know, robot? No. And I voted Republican before, and I'll do it again. Because I don't vote on the party, I vote on the person. So I just want you guys to know. And I voted Republican for important races, too, not just like dog catcher. If the person's good, they get my vote. But with regards to the political stuff, I just wanted you guys to know that I'll go back and forth. Lots of humor, lots of objectivity, but please nobody unsubscribe for that. But with regards to the whole cursive thing and the school thing, I don't like being at a disadvantage. I think it's bad for us on all fronts. You know, I know that the emphasis in schools now is math, science, and I suppose English, because you got to be able to read the math questions and the science questions, right? That's the only reason that the only reason that reading or English is important, right? Why? Because schools are after funding. And usually the way to get that funding directly is either through performance tests, which focus on math or science, or, you know, your general SAT, ACT, which is also heavy math, heavy science. And so depending on the numbers there and over here is where they get their funding, is where they get the A rating kind of thing. And so they don't want to be bothered teaching how to write cursive when they don't even really want to teach it how to write to begin with. They just want to do well in the math and the science. And to me, that's a problem because then things like social studies, history, which is really important, gets totally forgotten because you don't get money for knowing history. You don't get high scores on these, you know, crazy tests because of history, you know? And then on top of that, music programs get it. They get the axe. You know, art programs get the axe. Sometimes even athletic programs get the axe because then schools start to think, well, you know, football, basketball, they would help me. High math, science scores would help me a lot more. I'm going to go here. They can go to the YMCA. And that's just how it becomes. And so I feel like cursive just falls in this, like, in this window or this category of not important, can get rid of, maybe revisit, never. You know what I mean? And so that's where I think cursive is at. And that's why I don't like the fact that we're at a disadvantage because it doesn't just end there. As soon as we start shortchanging in education, our kids are not going to be as competitive as the kids from Japan or Germany. The Germans are all over the place. I mean, and I'll tell you something else. The Germans, the British are kind of like removed from Britain, but the ones that aren't, you've got the Germans, the British, you got the Italians, the Spanish, the French, and those Europeans, although they say that it's just an economic union, I feel like there's a bit of nationalism. I feel like they're really starting to gel as an European Union. And I feel like they would rather band together than band with us. So I feel like it's more than just money. I feel like they're becoming like I don't want to say like New World Order, but they're starting to like lose their Germanness and their Frenchness, and they're adopting more of this like sort of like European kind of like, I guess, a New World Order kind of feel. And so it's not going to be like like trade wise. And that's really where it all comes down to. I mean, like bombs and like fighter jets, I mean, when's the last time Russia and the United States had a war, or France and the United States, or England and Spain or something? Like they don't do that anymore. Like they've got that stuff, yeah, but they don't really do that. It's all about trade now. It probably always was. It's all about trade. It's all about making money, and getting as rich as possible. That's all it really is about. You know what I mean? And so you still have those tanks and guns and stuff like, excuse me, almost cursed, for like your Irans and your North Koreas, just in case, But we all know if it ever gets nuclear, whoever uses nuclear weapons, the world ends. So it's just kind of like a stupid game. Trade is where it's really at. And some countries will actually leave another country like to literally starve, to the point that UNICEF has to come in with like dry grain to keep the people alive. That's how cutthroat business is. So in a really, really real way, it's kind of like the same wars that are fought with guns, only these are fought with money. If you don't have the money, like nobody's going to sell you anything. If you don't have like the credit, no one's going to give you a loan. And if you tick off the right country that's big and powerful enough, they don't have to worry about sending fighter jets to you. They just cut you off from the international market like that, or like that, and you're done. So, I mean, you could like shoot all your guns in the air however long you want. No one's going to sell you anything. And what's worse is you can't sell it either. You probably couldn't even give it away if you wanted to, because that's how these economic coalitions are. And so to me, the idea that we're going to come up against this new European nationality, which is already happening, and then we're going to go be up against the Japanese and the Koreans, the country's this big, and like how many cars are you going to sell to us? The Chinese. So all of these like different folks from around the world, the Aussies, the Kiwis, they're also on the ball. They're also going to school like crazy. The African countries, don't forget the African countries, they go to school all the time. And I'll tell you something about the African countries and some of the Central American countries and some of the South American countries, which are usually poorer nations. Math and science is the equalizer. Math is like soccer. You don't need a big fancy school. You don't need a big fancy court. I mean, there's some kids that take to math like, I mean, it's nobody's business. You know what I mean? Just like soccer. I mean, you can play with a rag ball in the middle of nowhere. You can come to a country like the United States or the UK or something and wipe the floor with their team. I mean, it's an equalizer. Math is an equalizer. So again, our American kids, which are not apparently being taught cursive, which are not getting history and music, which are basically just getting a math-dominant, science-dominant education, are going to be at a substantial disadvantage against students and future generations from other countries. I'm just saying, guys, I'm like, we can have 3,000 nukes. We can have 5,000 nukes. It doesn't do anything for us in the economy. It doesn't do anything for us competitively. And I am a kind of whole spectrum kind of person when it comes to education. Like I get it. Math and science, those are like the ones that everybody wants. But you don't get rid of English. You don't get rid of cursive. You don't get rid of social studies and band and history and art. You don't get rid of that stuff, because I believe that helps shape a mind. Whereas you guys are just going after what pays you money. I mean, that's what schools are becoming. And so I just feel like, cutting cursive out and maybe band and history and music art next. And then I don't know. I mean, we're going to have a lot of really smart math and science kids, but are they going to be cultured? Are they going to know anything about anything? Are they going to be able to write their name, sign their name? They're going to have to what are they going to do? Well, hold on. I got to use the app. Can you e-sign that to me? Because I don't know how to sign. And eventually they may not even know how to write, because if we continue to get as technical as we're getting, I mean, we'll know how to read, but doesn't mean we'll know how to write. Because if you start typing away nonstop and the pencils and the pens and the paper become less and less used, you're not going to know how to write. Maybe nobody will teach you how to write, because typing will be the new thing. You know what I mean? So again, I don't know where it's going to end. I have no idea. If at any point in time you want to leave a comment, please do. Like I said, you say whatever you want in the comments, because I will certainly say whatever I want on the videos. You know what I mean? So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll see you for the next one. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. Everything Else channel on YouTube, everythingelsechannel.com, coming soon.